entire military is one cohesive, dedicated force. And the threats to our nations, they don't sleep. They're watching our every move. Iran, Russia, China, North Korea, ISIS, Al-Qaeda. They may be watching this right now. Our military should not be mistaken for a cable news gab-fed show. We don't care what you look like. We don't care who you voted for, who you worship, what you worship, who you love. It doesn't matter if your dad left you millions when he died or if you knew who your father was. You have the code over the machine of lethal moving parts that you would be wise to avoid if you never stood here. We will not be intimidated. We will not back down. We don't want war. But if you want war with the United States of America, there's one thing I can promise you, so help me God. Someone else will raise your sons and daughters.
Military Broadcast Radio, the station that's giving veterans a voice.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Welcome, Quack.
Opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Welcome to Veteran Talk with Magic Mike, where what's important to you is important to us. Let's talk. I'm your host, Magic Mike, and today we're diving deep into something close to my heart. How sharing your story and getting behind the mic can be a powerful form of rehabilitation. Whether you're fresh out of service, years into civilian life.
20 years. It's been 20 years since we saw each other in Iraq.
And he looks older in person.
Now, we're not all poets or motivational speakers, but you'd be amazed at how therapeutic it can be just to talk. One thing I've learned is that every story has value. Doesn't matter if you were on the front lines or behind a desk. Your experience is worth sharing, and trust me, somebody out there needs to hear it. Broadcasting gives us a way to say, hey, this is who I am, and this is what I've been through. It bridges gaps, builds community, and creates new purpose.
Hey everybody, welcome in on this wonderful Thursday. We have survived, everybody. We have made it. Yes, it is Thursday, 4/10/2025 or 2025. Yes, indeed. And you know what? Magic Mike is just a tad, running late a little bit. He'll be here, but I wanted to welcome everybody and let you know that today's episode is pretty special. We have it all nice, and I'm trying to bring it up now. Red is going to be sitting in for Mike if he ever gets his mic and stuff working. But let me introduce you to welcome to Veterans Talk with Magic Mike and H. Here we're going to dive into the stories, challenge, and triumphs of our veteran community. We don't just talk, we dig deep, uncovering the untold stories and giving a voice to our brothers and sisters in arms. Today's topic, of course, if you didn't already recognize, is toxic leadership and morale injury. Today, we're tackling the subject because it's rarely discussed, and on a deeply felt toxic relationship and moral injuries it leaves behind. This isn't just about combat trauma. It's about scars left by betrayal, unethical orders, leaders who abuse this power. And, honestly, this can happen in everyday's life as well, not just the military. When we talk about moral injury, we mean the psychological impact of witnesses or being part of actions that go against your core values. And it's not just what you see or do. It's also the betrayal by leaders you once trusted. Toxic leadership, just kind of some examples from commanders who look the other way on misconduct to those who push unethical missions. Toxic leadership comes in many forms. Maybe a clique, maybe a little boys club. You know what I'm talking about. It's the kind of behavior that leaves you questioning not only in the mission, but yourself. And that's the reason why today we find ourselves second guessing ourselves a lot. We're going to share a couple of stories from veterans who face these challenges. These are tough, honest accounts that show just how deep this real issue runs. I'm going to play a pre-recorded video real quick just to kind of show you what we're talking about.
This unit was toxic. Their leadership was toxic. They had horrible leadership. And you may be wondering, like, what are some examples? What are some examples of this unit being toxic compared to this unit having great leadership? And that's what I want to provide in this video. And that starts right now. The Army is not guaranteed to be a great experience. It's going to definitely vary based on the units, the MOS that you do, the people that you come in contact with, whether or not you're going to have like a good time in the United States Army or have a bad time in the United States Army. You can't predict really what you're going to get. That is really going to depend on a lot of factors: the leadership, your location, the environment, what's going on, all sorts of things. The type of leadership is definitely something that can make or break like a good duty station, right? It can be very helpful to be stationed at this place if you have great leadership compared to being stationed maybe at the greatest place on earth, but the leadership is toxic and just ruins everything. And in that case, I want to be able to give you some examples of both, some good leadership as well as some bad leadership. These are some examples that maybe I've experienced, but don't think that just because an NCO or the leadership has one of these traits, it makes them toxic or great, because it usually takes like a combination of several of these traits for it to be either good leadership or toxic leadership or bad leadership. So these are some things that I experienced, my opinions as far as what I feel like are some characteristics of some good leadership that I had, as well as some bad or toxic leadership that I experienced as well. Your opinion could be very different than mine, and if you have a specific type of opinion as far as what makes good leadership and what makes bad leadership, I want to hear about that down in the comment section down below. So comment down below, but nonetheless, let's get into some things. Let's start off with an experience that I had of, a good trait of some good leadership. There are times in the United States Army where you're sitting around doing nothing. You may hear like the term, hurry up and wait, or, a lot of other kind of terminology where there's just times sometimes in the Army where there isn't a whole lot going on and they just got you sitting around holding up a wall, sitting around in the motor pool, sitting around at the office area, whatever, not really doing anything constructive. And they'll try to find some crap for you to do or whatever. Or maybe you have a good experience like I've had sometimes where they just tell you, hey, go get lost for a little bit, but have your phone ready so if we need you, we can get a hold of you. I've had some experiences where, we've had leadership tell us, hey, those of you that live in the barracks, go ahead and take off to your barracks room, but don't start drinking or anything crazy. Don't make a lot of noise to let people know that you're in the barracks. Just hang out, relax. And if we call you because we need somebody to get down to the motor pool to go do something, you need to.
So the only reason why I stopped it, because it's a very, very, very long video, and I have a bunch of other stuff to cover, but that kind of gives you an example of good leadership toward bad leadership. I strongly believe that when it comes to leadership, wherever you are in your unit, if it has a low retention number, take note of that. If it has a high retention number, then chances are the unit's pretty good. Not all units are good. Some units are bad. Just like I had an NCO once tell me that the Army, the military is like an engine. The engine isn't bad, but the grease, the oil, everything that you put into the engine, it depends. It's what makes your engine fire up. It's what makes your engine work. Did we get it set yet, Red? You're on mute.
Maybe so. Can you hear me?
I think I can hear you. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
All right.
So, Red, right now what we're doing is I just played the first video, kind of explaining what what toxic leadership is. compared to, good leadership, and I think the leadership questions kind of like a relationship. You don't know if you're in a good relation or a bad relationship until you get in another relationship, and you could think that relationship that you're in was good, but then you go to someone else and you're like, damn, he really did treat me like shit, or damn, they wasn't very good. So give me an example in your lifetime and your scenario, because you did 22 years in the Air Force, right?
Actually 20.
20. Okay. So you did 20 years in the Air Force. Give us an example of a bad leadership and good leadership. And maybe what was the outcome? Like how did you resolve the situation?
Well, I hadn't really thought about that too much, but when you think about it, just look at your and I think everybody might be able to relate to this. Okay, you're in training. Okay, I was in training.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm in training. I'm on a crew. Okay, which air traffic control. So we were in a big facility. It was Eglin. So we have 25, 30 people per crew, and there's 3 crews. And you rotate shifts. Now, a certain number of those bodies that are on your crew are obviously the supervisor, the watch supervisors, the assistants, but then you have your rated individuals that are already trained, and they are your trainers.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So, but you're given one trainer.
Right.
Now you may be working with this trainer and thinking, man, this guy sucks, or you could be said, hey, this guy's the best guy that I ever had. I don't know why I'm not advancing, must be really hard. But then all of a sudden, maybe you change trainers. So now you got a new relationship. And then you say, wow.
And that's what people
that last trainer had no idea what he was talking about and did not know, or not that he wasn't good at air traffic control, but he wasn't good from a training aspect with sharing his knowledge to the, to the lower. And that could be praising you, correcting you, disciplining you, everything else. And then it could be just the opposite. Say, wow, that last trainer I had sure was good. Wish I still had him. Hate he PCS'd.
Right. And, and that's the thing that I hated about the PCS. Like, if somebody would have told me, hey, look, PCS into another duty station means you're going to have to start all over. You're going to have to start over relationships. You're going to have to start over your, and then kind of break it down to the Barney style. It means that you got to go get your cell phone, a new phone number. You got to memorize all that, because sometimes people do things and they don't realize what they're doing. They think it's a great idea. Like I was talking to somebody today during class, one of the new interns. I told him, I'm like, a lot of people come to do a podcast and they think all they have to do is like show up and that's it. But the thing is here there's no production team. So every DJ, and I don't think people realize this, that every DJ, every host here, they donate their time. And their bigger purpose, their bigger goal is to reach other veterans, other communities, and get this information, get this resources, get these topics that are on people's minds, get it out there. And I don't think people realize that, because how many times have we had somebody do, a show and they're like, oh, I can do 2 hours. And they get to the mic and they freeze because they don't have somebody to bounce off to, or they didn't do their homework and they didn't do like a prep. Like right now, I mean, it's it's no lie. All of us are reading off of a script somewhat,
Hey,
because if you read off of a script, there, it's great. It's great quality. What? Go ahead.
Hey, H, what I was thinking. So what you're trying to tell me, this is for our audience out there.
Okay.
You mean I'm not getting paid for this?
No.
We didn't practice before we came out here on the screen, on the podcast.
Well, we're supposed to come in like 15 or 20 minutes. And what happened today is what happened. Red was in here like 45 minutes ago, and he was having sound trouble. He's having his sound and stuff is good now. We're just now getting ready to go on our like first music break, but see how that wasn't scripted, that's live. But that, ladies and gentlemen, is the reason why you're be like a Boy Scout. You come prepared, and Red figured it out. And if you're interested in coming over to MBR and doing a show, just so you know, Red is the squad leader for StreamYard 3. Red, we are I tell you what, we are going to go on a commercial break, and when we come back from that commercial break, we're going to not only dive into the results, like toxic leadership stuff that you can do to fix your situation, maybe some other people's stories, stuff like that. So whatever you do, stay with us. Don't go away. You're listening to the station that's letting our veterans' voice be heard. You're listening to MBR Talk.
Woohoo!
If I can figure out which one I want to play first.
And we will see you. It's time for a vacation, and Fairway Travels is here to share great specials for you to choose from. Discover the charm and features of one of Sandals' 16 all-inclusive, luxury included, adults-only resorts, or a family-friendly beaches destination in the Caribbean. Or how about a couples resort in Jamaica? If cruising's your preference, get Thunderstroke aboard Carnival Cruise Lines or set sail on an award-winning Royal Caribbean ship. Join Virgin Voyages now for a wonderful adults-only sailing. It doesn't matter if you choose to travel by plane, train, automobile, cruise ship, or rowboat, we can help you reach your dream destination. Contact Fairway Travels today at 228-365-1012. That's 228-365-1012. Or email bookitnow247@gmail.com. Fairway Travels, where your journeys keep satisfying.
Whatever happened to the brave young soldier? He was a good friend of mine. They say as he died, he never once cried, lying with his brothers there by his side. At 19 years old, he was sent off to war, not really sure what he was fighting for. So he fights for what's behind him and his brothers beside him. Together they'll weather the storm. 9 long months later and he's still alive. Fought several long battles you shouldn't have survived. Then the IED exploded as the ambush unfolded. He laid there bleeding as his brothers all died. Whatever happened to the brave young soldier? He was a good friend of mine. They say as he died, he never once cried, lying with his brothers there by his side. Reinforcements arrived in the nick of time. Old Doc had found him and called in the nightline. He awoke in the hospital, they patched all the holes. Too bad they couldn't fix the ones in his soul. And 16 years later he locks all the doors, unable to find anything worth living for. His family has left him, he feels society rejects him. With a bottle and a pistol, he falls to the floor. Whatever happened to the brave old veteran? He was a good friend of mine. They say as he died, he sat there and cried, with only his memories sitting there by his side. Brothers and sisters, we can't lose this war. Have we forgotten what the hell we fought for? Pick up the phone, go knock on a door. 22 too many, we must carry on, fighting these battles until they are won. We know that we walk on the edge of a knife, but one simple call can save a life. Whatever happened to the brave old veteran? He was a good friend of mine.
Military Broadcast Radio, the station that's giving veterans a voice.
Find us on the web at mbradio.net.
Opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Oh yeah, welcome back everybody. If you don't know already, the crazy fool that's in front of you, this is H, and with me, sitting in for Magic Mike till he gets out of the VA hospital, it is none other than Red. And I tell you what, we played a little bit of Red's commercial done by himself, actually. While we have you here, because Mike will be here anytime.
Right.
Go ahead and give your spiel on about this this cruise. Like, gosh, I mean, Red, with all the troubling times, and all the tariffs and stuff, like, is a cruise expensive?
Hey, it's no more expensive than it was 3 weeks ago or a month ago or 2 months ago. I mean, prices always do go up or down depending on the season. But man, what we got, we got our Veterans Day cruise, for instance, is coming up November 9th through November 15th. We're going on the Carnival Vista out of Port Canaveral. Man, we're going to be going to visit Half Moon Cay, Amber Cove in the Dominican Republic. And we're also going to visit the all-new Celebration Key. It's Carnival's own island and a great destination we can't wait to see. But folks, this right here is for military veterans. It's for podcasters. It's for veteran spouses. It's for the general public. It's for anybody that likes to cruise, likes to get together with a bunch of good friends and have some camaraderie going on. And the cool thing about it, we're going to be on board at sea on Veterans Day and get to be part of the Veterans Day or Heroes Appreciation ceremony that Carnival puts on, which they do an outstanding job. And not only do they recognize the veterans, but the families of veterans, the Gold Star veterans families, the all types of different medals that people may have received. They recognize teachers, first responders, the medical care, and really everybody. They recognize us all. And we're all in this fight together, right, H? And
yeah,
so
we really are. We
really are. We really are.
Because everybody expects somebody to like come in, swoop in, and help them. And sometimes in life, you're blessed with a connection that can help you do that. But for others, sometimes it's a little bit harder, for that to happen. And we have to remember that. And when we send out like these resources, when we send out these connections and stuff like that, as a veteran, you have to follow up on that stuff. It's not going to come to you. You got to follow up. If we were popular or famous like Jim Carrey, stuff would happen, real fast, real quick. The natural person out there wants to help you, but we can't help you if you don't reach out or you don't ask questions. That's what we here at MBR are dedicated and do, and we've been doing it for nearly 20 years, and we love what we're doing, and that is helping veterans navigate through the bureaucracy and the stigma when it comes to veteran services. If it comes to helping you apply for veteran resources or a VSO or maybe a home loan. You hear so many stories and horror stories about VA loans. And if you find the right person, just like a key, if you find the right key, you're going to be able to open that whole situation a lot easier. Same goes for, like, if I talked about the home loan. I lost my train of thought. We talked about the home loan. We talked about, getting your benefits. Also, signing up for the VA resources, like going to the VA healthcare. Remember, in DoD military, remember that their benefits is one bucket and healthcare is in another bucket.
Right.
We know where all these buckets are. You come to us and we try to connect you with the right bucket. That's what we are, and that's what we've been trying to do. Red, I can't wait for this cruise. I'm excited. I know I still need to send you some money for it, but I told you that when we came back, describing toxic leadership compared to good leadership, I have one of these videos that was provided to me, and hopefully by the end of this video, Magic Mike will be here. I don't know. I believe these are individuals that have been affected. These are their stories.
Lead them and give them purpose and direction. When shit gets real, they're going to be dependent on you. If they can't depend on you, what are you an NCO for? Why do you wear stripes? It's worthless. You should just go ahead and get your specialist back because you're doing a bad job. Period. Hi, babies. Welcome back to my channel. It's been a while since you guys have seen this setup. If you guys are new here, my name is Staff Sergeant Baker, aka Sweets Color, not Color, Color. I am recording with my vlog camera today, so if you see me looking to the right, it's because I got a new camera, and I was supposed to be recording with my T6i. I had this for a while now, but this is what I was supposed to be recording with, but I ordered the wrong battery from Best Buy, so we're using the vlog camera today. So yeah, this is my new camera, the Sony VV1. Yeah, but it's been a minute since I sat in front of you guys and did an army advice video. It's been a minute since I've had the setup. It's been a minute since I've been in, the groove and the passion, what I love doing. Again, if you guys are new here, my name is Staff Sergeant Baker now. I haven't said it.
So this is a YouTube video, and my main complaint is, why do you have to put in a 3-minute intro for a tutorial? Just jump right in it and get to it. That's the only thing that I say. Now watch, since I'm like critiquing it, I'm going to get like a copyright violation or some shit.
In front of you guys as Staff Sergeant Baker. I've been sitting in front of you guys as Sergeant Baker for a couple years. So it's a new and approved Staff Sergeant Baker here to give some NCO advice, some soldier advice, not just military advice, you know what I'm saying? Been now for new people, 5 years active duty. I was in the reserves for 2 years. Yes, I've been active duty for 5 years. And I've been ripping and running. I haven't really did any really content videos where I actually sat down in front of my camera in a long time, like probably a year at this point. Have I sat down and actually did a military related video in a sit down session with uniform on and all that. But yeah, in today's video we're gonna be talking about toxic leadership. What toxic leadership is, what it isn't, because sometimes soldiers be thinking that they NCO is toxic when really they just enforcing the standard, and basically some ways to how to deal with toxic leadership, and not only that, but a little mini story time about like how I dealt with toxic leadership as a soldier. But okay, so yeah, let's just go ahead and get right into the video. All right, so first let's talk about what toxic leadership isn't, because I've ran into a lot of soldiers that say the NCO is toxic, and they don't even be toxic. They just like the fact that they, one, getting corrected in a tactful manner. They don't like to be corrected at all. Nowadays, soldiers be knowing they're out of regulation. Hair be messed up, nails be too long, got a hole in their shirt. They have a beard with no shaper profile. Their boots is below the third eyelid. Uniform way too tight. Just little stuff that that's not in the regulation that's out of regulation, having miscolored book bags or whatever the case may be, and the fact that a soldier or NCO or whoever the case, correct them even if it's in a manner.
Okay, all right. You know what? This reminds me that I probably should just like go through all the video and take out all, because her, I don't know about you, but her like moving her pen and stuff, that's like really distracting. And but what when you were talking earlier, you was talking about, you know, doing while you was doing training and stuff, you was giving an example. Was that an example of toxic leadership, or was that giving an example of leadership that was really good, that kind of helped you compare the two?
Well, I'm not gonna say that was toxic. It was more, you know, when I sat there, I guess, and said that, it was more when we're talking about a relationship that we're in, not realizing exactly, thinking it's a great relationship and everything else. But then when you experience something else, you figure out what that previous relationship actually was, whether it was a good relationship, a bad relationship, positive, negative, not necessarily. I wasn't leaning toward toxic, I don't guess, you know.
Okay.
That'd be, there are I mean, there definitely could be still, and I say toxic because if that trainer that we're talking about just constantly berated you and treated you the wrong way, and you know, not maintaining military bearing, let's say, in it,
Right.
or bringing personal type things in and out, and their druthers or druthers. That could be somewhat toxic in that way, I believe. If it's bothering you, if it's affecting you in the wrong way, and not building you up but tearing you down. Right. Now, granted, the military's not always going to build you up and not tear you down. Sometimes it has to do with discipline. But I'm just talking about a normal training relationship.
Okay, all right.
What I was talking about.
Okay, well, I can give you, so in my military career, I can give you a toxic situation. That's what I'm going to call it, is a toxic situation. I don't want to use names, of course, you know what I mean. But there was one time when I deployed to Iraq again, and I was with 4th ID, and a lot of the people didn't realize the long time or the short time effects of a traumatic brain injury. So, you know, I had this problem of like forgetting stuff, you know, like if I forgot my M16 somewhere, or if I forgot my gas mask somewhere, or even something as small as, oh shit, I forgot my cover, you know, in the MWR. And for those that don't know, a cover is basically like a BDU cap. Because we didn't wear the beret in Iraq. Well, we didn't. I don't think that we did. So when I was forgetting about all these different things, you know, missing appointments, stuff like that, I had this one NCO that he felt that the way that I would remember stuff is he would have somebody come out to the Humvee and I would pop up, you know, changing gun positions on each direction to make sure that I knew my direction. It was that kind of analogy punishment. Okay.
Right.
I think that was a little too extreme. I think that was a toxic situation, toxic leadership, doing something like that. Okay. Because that's not my characteristic. And I think when leaders work with other soldiers or other veterans, the leaders, they kind of have to be a coach. You know, they kind of have to know, okay, what's going to work on this soldier isn't necessarily going to work on this soldier, or what's going to work on this soldier, you know, it might just make this soldier just, you know, just get discouraged and depressed and blah, 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 you know, because I mean, soldiers are like dogs. If we're doing something wrong and we don't get commended, or we don't get validated, or we don't get told, hey, good job, then we get distracted, you know, because we second guess ourselves. And that's a big thing that we do here in the military. Now, I can give you a positive leadership quality. There was an individual that was on OP guard while we was in Iraq. And I knew that he needed at least 4 hours of sleep. Okay. So when he was doing work and I wasn't doing anything because I was like sergeant of the guard, like people thought that I was weird because I was helping him do his laundry. You know, that's something, a positive thing that a leader should do. A leader should know of is know to how to do the initiative. If you know that it's going to be a problem in the future, or if it could be a problem going forward, then you've got to mow that dead grass. You've got to mow that dead grass, because eventually when that grass brightens up and it gets green, there's always going to be like a little fairy circle. There's always going to be a dead place, you know? And you hear it all the time that if you don't like the way your life is going, you change it. And as a leader, if you don't like the way something is being seen, then you do the initiative and you make it happen. And if you don't know how to make it happen, and that's, hey, newsflash, everybody, leaders don't know everything. Leaders are still trying to figure it out. But a leader knows, okay, you know what? I need help with this. So I'm going to do some more research. I'm going to find out, you know. Every time I do a teaching session, I mean, either they're blowing smoke up my butt, or, you know, they think that I know exactly what's going on, and I kind of calm them down, and I kind of relax them. One thing as a leader I've noticed, you know, doing an initiative, is it seems like whenever somebody learns something on, like, oh, we're due for another break, aren't we?
It's already that time. It looks
Jesus, it goes by so quick. All right, so when we come back off of the break, I'm going to explain from leadership to bad leadership, kind of like, you know, what can we do to resolve? What can we do to encourage our leaders to research in a tactful manner? We probably could use that today in our civilian life, right?
Yeah.
That's what I thought too. So when we come back, we're going to dive into that, and hopefully Magic Mike is on his way. The Pete-to-do got 30 seconds. So whatever you do, stay with us. Don't go away. You're listening to Veterans Talk, the show right here on the station that's giving our veterans voice to be heard. I screwed that up. Anyways, we'll see you in a bit, everybody.
Too big, wanting to grow up way too quick, searching for spotlights since I was 6. Hello, my name is Dream Too Big. Hello, my name is way too loud. My voice can cut right through the crowd. Got made fun of for it, but who's laughing now? Hello, my name is way too loud. I know I've had my moments and I've had heartaches. God is making miracles out of my mistakes. You can say I won't make it, and I can tell you that I don't really care. 'Cause hello, my name is going somewhere. Far. Lost all my words in a mason jar. Locked eyes with a stranger at the end of the bar. afar. Well, hello, my name is one more try. I put too much stock in bad advice, 'cause anything worth leaving is worth loving twice. Hello, my name is one more try. I know I've had my moments and I've had heartaches, but God is making miracles out of my mistakes. You can say I won't make it, and I can tell you that I don't really care. 'Cause hello, my name is going somewhere. Yeah. Hello, my name is getting knocked down. You're never gonna leave the ground. You can tell us all about it when you come back around. Hello, my name is getting knocked down. Hello, my name is stand back up. Keep moving even when it gets rough. I've given so much, but I ain't giving up. Hello, my name is stand back up. I know I've had my moments and I've had heartaches, but God is making miracles out of my mistakes. You can say I won't make it, and I can tell you that I don't really care. 'Cause hello, my name is going somewhere. Going somewhere. Yeah, oh, it's going
Military Broadcast Radio, the station that's giving veterans a voice.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Hey, everybody, welcome back. You're listening to Veterans Talk right here on the station that's letting our veterans' voice be heard. You're listening to MBR Talk. Man, I tell you what, so far we've had really pretty interesting conversation, you know. Red, of course, is sitting in for Magic Mike until he gets done with the VA hospital, so we're kind of waiting on that. Hopefully he'll be here at the top of the hour, but, you know, one of the things that we're talking about today is we're talking about the whole description, the whole conversation of, you know, toxic leadership and moral injury. And when before we went on break, you know, we were talking about, you know, the different methods and stuff when it comes to like even like podcasting. You know, so many times as people, it's just kind of work with me. I'm trying to make it kind of an analogy, Red. Just work with me here.
Okay.
But as people, since we're kind of lacking on like internet and technology skills, you know, and somebody's helping us or teaching us, the first thing that we say, well, that's not working. Well, this doesn't work. Like we're so upset that we can't figure it out that we just assume that the person that says, okay, well, I'll help you, like they're not going to be able to help us out, because if we can't figure it out, how the hell can you figure it out? You know?
Yeah.
And that's when we get into issues about assuming the initiative and stuff like that. we have to relax. Either way, there's an answer. Just like a math problem, there's an answer. There's always an answer. You just have to figure that answer out. And because we're in the we're in the era of I want it now, 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 we want it fast. We don't want to experience the journey. But the reason why we have to experience the journey is because if we don't experience the journey, then everything in the middle, the mistakes, the bad decisions, the bad investments, all that stuff, if we don't do the stuff in the middle, we're not going to gain that experience. You know,
Right.
Be careful if you're religious and you, hey, dear God, give me patience. Be careful, because if you ask God for patience, then he's going to put you in a situation that's going to bring you patience. Okay. If you want money, God is going to help you get that money. He's going to put you in a job. Maybe that job might be a janitor. It don't matter. Remember, to God, one day is like 1,000 years. So he's on island time. Okay. He's not trying to make this fast. He's developing you.
He might give you that janitor pay just because here's exactly what you need.
Exactly. Hey, you saw Good Will Hunting. Look at that. The guy was a janitor. You know, he was telling God, hey, I want to do this. I want this. I want this. And every time an event happened to where, he even said at the end of it to his friend, he's like, yeah, I don't know. He just left and he doesn't come back. He's like, dude, I pray for that. He's like, I don't want you to work in this job like I am this whole day. He's like, you have so many skills. You are so talented. Don't hold yourself to this job when you can do so much more. And everybody's seen that movie. You know, it's the same kind of thing.
Yeah, I agree. Hey, H, a lot of times it's pretty cool. You know, when you talk about we want things right all the time. We're used to having things right all the time. I can't do something. Well, if I can't do it, there ain't no way H is going to show me how to do it, which I know that's not true. That's not a fact in any way. Okay, you know that, H, and there's a lot of others that know that also. But what I'm saying is sometimes it's nice, no kidding, to have a problem, to see that you actually need help from somebody else, to see that you remember how to be teachable, how to let someone help you. But even more so than that, H, if we get something, you know, when we're so used to things going hunky-dory right every time, quick. But then when we come across a challenge, boy, it's nice to go in there and tackle that challenge. Teamwork, working together, and even if it's coming from an audience or coming from whoever's around you, your peers, but boy, to come together for that challenge and to come to an end, a positive end, a conclusion, everything's fixed and everything's working gloriful. Hey, how great is that? So sometimes it's nice just to have those problems, to be able to remember that you can fix a problem, and the world's not going to end just because they didn't bring my tea cold enough or whatever, right? I mean,
and you know, it's so funny because
you've got a great thing going, you know, here with Military Broadcast Radio. I believe, in my eyes, I thought last year we had a lot of things going so strong for us and going so well, but it's even gotten so much better now than it was.
Yeah. I mean, can you believe it? Like, when you first came here, we didn't have a glittery background. We didn't have a app with 3 stations. I mean, we have made big jumps because we've had people that did the initiative. They know what needs to be done. And if it didn't get done, they would, you know, H, we need you to do this. We need to do that. And, you know, of course, I'm not going to lie. Well, you know, a lot of it is thanks to GPT. You know, GPT it's kind of helped me. It's kind of taught me
Sure.
stuff, because
Sure.
there's times when I ask it like dumb questions, and then it kind of breaks it down to me,
Right.
And I used to reach out to a lot of people and say, "Hey, what does this mean? What does this mean?" And sometimes people want to help, but it's like everybody, we want to help when it's convenient for us, not when it's not convenient. Look,
Right.
when I'm at the groceries, we all have that wife. When it's wife time, it's wife time. When you're with your wife and you get a call from somebody saying, "Hey, I'm just down and depressed." It's not that you don't care, it's the wrong time. It's
Right.
just the wrong time. So, do they want to speak to a person, or do they just want somebody to talk to? That's the important part. And, Red's been here when we've done classes. There's been people that came in just to talk. They don't even want to worry about podcasts. They want to talk because, listen, this goes for all veterans. This goes for anybody that's on any kind of, I believe, medication. When you're on any kind of medication, I think some of the side effects of the medication mentally, it makes you think people are mad at you when they don't, when they get quiet, when they don't talk. you know so now, if you're not one of those people, then congratulations. But
Right.
I know I am. If I don't hear from somebody in like 2 weeks or whatever, and I message them and I don't get a response, and that's the first thing that jumps to my mind. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. I'm not special. I'm sure everybody's like that. And when we're talking about the toxic relationship or toxic leadership compared to non-toxic,
Right.
I think leaders, they forget that sometimes. They're more interested on being validated as a leader rather than listening to what the leader says so that he can kind of explain to you what he's learned, because that's all a leader is somebody that has been through some shit and that can kind of break it down and help you navigate through the struggle, if that makes sense.
No, I like it a lot. And just as you were saying that, and I've met probably because of a few articles that I've read lately, maybe health uh, things health related that I'm getting seen for at the VA. Hey,
Yeah.
a doctor only practices medicine. You don't think they continue to do research as they see something new? They might try something here or try something there. Imagine if you're like that doctor. So I go to the doctor today,
Yeah.
right? And
Right.
hey, it's because we have pain, or it's because we have this or that or the other. But we get seen for it, we get treated, we get what we need,
Right.
and then the doctor doesn't hear from us for 2-3 months.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what the heck?
Or
Why
we
are they
don't, or
calling me?
if
And
you're a part of
why is my patient, my friend, my patient not calling me? Because they're not having any kind of dire need right then at that moment. They got something else going on, because you know how we all have busy lives.
Yep.
And so I hope you don't ever feel like that,
Well,
or any other person. Just because somebody doesn't mean that they got a gripe against you, or you upset
I
them.
think everybody
Right.
thinks that, though.
No, I do. You got to think of it. Just like that doctor, well, how come Red hadn't come to see me? Because Red's feeling good. Red might need no help
right.
But I think my doctors are more like, when is Red going to stop coming to see me? Red is being toxic with me for his health care. But
well, and I think sometimes we have individuals, we're kind of stuck in our own bubble. Like
sure,
there's people in a group that I was a part of that, like, something was going on, and I'm like, I didn't even freaking know, but okay, when I was at Colorado Media School, there were 2 kids in my classroom, very lovely people. I won't say their names. They know who they are. But like, I didn't know that they were dating. I didn't know that they were like going out and stuff until I started a project with them. And then I found out they were dating, you know? But the reason why I didn't find out that they were dating, because I was kind of stuck in my bubble, you know? And what I mean stuck in your bubble is, okay, you know, you tell everybody, hey, I want to help you. You know, I love helping people, everything. But how many of us have been driving on the highway going to somewhere that we need to be, a location, and then to the right side, we see somebody on the side of the road, and we want to stop, but we're like, well, and then we start making excuses for ourselves, thinking, well, I don't have any tools. I'm not mechanically inclined. What am I going to do? And we just drive on by. We don't like check on them or say, hey, you know, everything's going, because it takes an effort to pull off to the side. Plus, it takes an effort to trust society the way it is today. You know, there's so many reasons. And that's what I mean, that every one of us are stuck in a bubble. We're stuck in our bubble. And until somebody comes out, Red, you're stuck in the bubble. You don't know what is going on. You know, until somebody points it out, you don't really know.
That's true. You're right. I am in a bubble.
Bubble man. Who was it?
I'm sorry. I had to do that.
I can't remember if it was MJ or if it was Amber. They were talking, and I'm like, oh, I think it was Amber, because for some reason, every time she turns around, she seems to be getting like allergy issues and stuff. And I told her husband Charles, I'm like, yeah, we definitely need to put her in a bubble, you know. She's a vital part of the team, and things just keep on happening. But I think sometimes we forget that everybody has their own life. We're concentrated on ours, and we don't realize that, you know, that one friend that you call and complain or vent to,
right,
they might not say anything to you. They might be in the process of losing their house.
Right.
Nobody posts.
You don't know what somebody else is going through.
Right. Nobody posts.
I could be trying to listen to you and hearing your story, trying, you know, just like with the dog the other day, you know, with the pet. Remember, we kind of communicated with each other a little bit, but I could have not said anything at all. And as far as how my pet had affected me, you know, I could have just listened to you, but I shared. I mean, we shared. It was relatable for sure, you know, with what we were sharing. But there's sometimes where, you know, even like with myself, it might be, say, you know, how I'm involved with these recovery programs, the 12-step recovery programs, and I might be hearing something from somebody. It might be somebody that I actually am a sponsor for, that I'm helping them through their time. Or it could just be somebody that just happens to be at a meeting. It could be somebody like with our appointments, you know, for training, where they come up there just to talk, and we will just talk. I will just answer the question that somebody's asking, or try to be that shoulder that they can lean on, that ear to hear,
right,
and not really share, even though I'm experiencing the exact same thing.
Right.
It's not obviously it's not affecting me the same. Right. But I definitely don't want my negative part, something that's affecting me, to affect somebody else.
Right.
You know, they got enough like you got enough on your shoulders right now when I'm having problems with my sound and my video over here. Then you got more on your plate right now for me to come in there and bother you with it.
Right, but we're so stuck in our own bubble, we don't realize that our friends or family are going through those situations. Like, I'm not going to mention names, but we have somebody in our network that, like, her roof, I mean, it's completely gone. You know, there's nothing really that she can do about it, and she keeps getting raindrops on her head, you know, and this person served our country. There's so many stories out there, and there's not a whole lot that we can do, but the one thing we can do, and it changes everybody's perspective, it makes the pain go down a little bit, okay? It's like that getting that tattoo and then having you bite down on a leather strap or whatever. When you talk to somebody and you tell them how you're feeling, you're venting, you're helping. You're not asking for money. You gotta have somebody to bounce shit off of, to talk with. You have to. We've came up on our next magic break. We are talking about toxic leaderships and good leaderships. What is your opinion, everybody? Tell us, call us, let us know what you think. We're going to play some, I really like this song. I think it's so funny. We're going to play some Coffee Anderson this time around. My Boyfriend's Ugly. And when we come back, hopefully, Magic Mike will grace his period. I'm gonna have to talk to Magic Mike.
I really believe he'll magically appear, huh?
I'm gonna get out of my bubble. So whatever you do, stay with us. Don't go away. You're listening to Veterans Talk right here on the station that's letting veteran voices be heard. You're listening to MBR.
All right.
Welcome to Deluxe Shoe Repair.
Look at you. Got your new side job? Okay.
Hop on quickly.
Do what you gotta do.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
What can we do to help you today?
Well, I need to get my heels fixed, okay? See my zipper right here? You need to fix that for me so I can stay fierce. Thank you.
Congratulations on your new boyfriend. I saw your new man.
Oh, you seen him? Mm-hmm.
I saw him.
Yeah, he look good. Oh my God, he's so smart. He intelligent.
Huh.
Oh my God, like he could speak Russian. He could speak Spanish. He know how to do math.
He knows math.
I got me a winner. Hey, you know what I'm saying? I had to get that upgrade on. Baby, come here real quick. Come up in here. Come here, baby. This is my boo-boo. Mm-hmm. Don't be jelly. Don't be jelly. It's okay. You gonna get yours too, boo. You'll get yours too.
I saw you in Walmart. You were holding his hand. We only been broken up for about a week and a half. Now I'm not jelly, I'm just telling you, you left me for him, but something looked peculiar, and I was noticing. Your new boyfriend is ugly, and I'm glad that he is. Why don't y'all go get married and have some ugly kids? When I was with you, didn't treat me right, and I was good to you. Your new boyfriend is ugly. I'm kinda glad that it's true. Come on, somebody. Hey! That boy's still ugly. You said all that I wanted was just to drive my truck, watch that ESPN and do some crappie fishing. Well, yeah, pretty much. I ain't gonna lie. Now I'm not jelly, I'm just telling you, you were winning with me, but something looked peculiar. Now everybody can see your new boyfriend is ugly, and I'm glad that he is. Why don't y'all go get married and have some ugly kids? When I was with you, didn't treat me right, and I was good to you. Your new boyfriend is ugly. I'm kinda glad that it's true. I'm not the one for dissing. kinda glad that it's true. Your new boyfriend is glad, and I look better with you.
Military Broadcast Radio, the station that's giving veterans a voice.
Find us on the web at mbradio.net.
Opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. You're listening to Veterans Talk right here on the station that's letting our veterans' voices be heard. Magic Mike joins us in the background.
Yes, sir.
Finally.
Hey, sorry about it. What's up, Red? How y'all doing?
Hey.
Hey, sorry about that. I was at the Social Security Administration today. I had some paperwork I had to do and fill out, and get some things done. And I'll tell you what, man, mad respect to those people, man. I listen to people yelling and screaming in there, and I'm like, hi, I just need a new Social Security card. I lost mine. She was like, you can do that online, right? I'm like, no, I did not know. She was like, but I'll take
I
care
would
of
have
it.
said, apparently I didn't because I'm here. So help me out.
There were literally people just yelling and screaming and fussing out there. What you mean? You got to make an appointment now for that place. You can't just show up in that place. But anyway, that's neither here nor there, man. Are we doing our segment, or are we just like, what are we doing, man? Talk to me. I'm sorry.
We're going through a script. I sent you that script in the email.
Well, let's do it. Let's roll with that, man. Hey, Red, did he send you that script?
Hey,
what script?
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
worry
he
about
did.
it.
He did. I did get it. I got it.
So everything that we've talked about, Mike, it's great that you're back because we're going to ask you on seeking solutions for toxic leadership compared to great leadership.
Listen, this is a topic, Joel, and you know it as well as I do, and so do you, Red. This is a topic that's near and dear to our hearts, especially yours and mine, Joel. We were both in the 82nd Engineers. We actually know what toxic leadership is. They talk about being a great leader and leading from the front, et cetera, but you cannot be a good leader and talk the talk and not walk the walk.
Right.
I literally had leaders in the military as well as in the civilian world that left more of a scar on me than I think the combat did. Does that make any sense? I mean, it's like it
does. And like we were talking about earlier, because we were sharing some of the stories that veterans face, that the pain, it doesn't stop when you leave the service. For many,
no, it doesn't. It carries on.
What's worse, it rarely is acknowledged. That's why we're here today to bring these stories to light and start the real conversation. And
hey, listen, so anybody wants to know my story, I'll tell you my story real quick in a nutshell. So I spent 14 years of my life after the military getting justice, if you will, due to toxic leadership. I literally had a command sergeant major walk over me while I was on the ground shaking and crying and tell me, do you see how powerful I am? I'm more powerful than your fucking United States senator. So, and I'll tell you this. So when I was in Iraq, I was diagnosed with severe PTSD. Now, everybody knows my personality. I got a poppy personality. I know a lot of people. Make a long story short, Isaac Nieves was probably the first one. But I was standing at the front gate when the first Humvee got attacked, and I believe it was a National Guard unit from either Minnesota or Wisconsin. They were less than 2 days before returning to home. They got hit by an IED. They rolled through our gate. I helped put a tourniquet on this guy's leg. I mean, he was in bad shape. We rushed him to our little TMC hospital that we had there, our cash, whatever. And I literally stood right behind the doctor and watched them diligently try to save this guy's life. And all the soldiers around us and stuff like that. I mean, it's not what you see on TV, right? I mean, this is just like a free for all, pretty much. Everybody's standing around. They get him in the helicopter. We had one helicopter. Get him in the helicopter. Dust off. He's gone. And later on in the chow hall, I said to the doctor, I said, you're an amazing human being. He said, yeah, I just wish I could have saved his life. I go, what do you mean? He goes, he died on the helicopter. That was my first combat death experience. And from there, it kind of went downhill. And then, Isaac Nieves, who was one of our soldiers and one of our friends, we served in Kosovo together and stuff. He lived in the barracks with us, and he died, was killed. Connor was killed, and they literally handed me his rifle and said, clean this off so we can turn it in. And here they handed me this, and again, this is, if you're out there listening, this may be a trigger for you. So please bear in mind that's not our intention. And if you do need to seek help, please do seek professional help. But they handed me this M16 that had brain matter on it still, and I had I didn't have any water. All I had was what the doctors had given me, or the medical clinic, and it was these 2 saline bottles, and I was washing off the best I could and stuff. So this is me in my first couple weeks in Iraq, couple months, and I wasn't sleeping because we were mortared every freaking day, man. We were getting mortared because we didn't have a radar. They took our radar away when they redeployed. When the first Cav redeployed, they took their radar with us. So they started mortaring us every day. They knew that we didn't have the radar anymore, so there was no counterfire. And man, I mean, everything just would rock you. And I just thought, well, my days are numbered. They're coming. So I went to a chaplain who was a major, Chaplain Huey, and hope he's not serving God anymore, because he was worthless as tits on a bullfrog. I went up to him, and he was on Skype. They had Skype at that time, right? And he was on Skype, and I said, Chaplain, can I talk to you? He goes, we'll talk later. And I said, do you ever think later might be too fucking late? And he said to me, you watch your language. You can either talk to the cross or you could talk to the oak leaf. And I said, I don't need to talk to either one of you. And I walked away. I received an Article 15 for that, and I was demoted pretty heavily. I was demoted from a sergeant down to nothing for that, for disrespect to a senior field grade officer. And after that, I was, my NCOR, which is non-commissioned officer's evaluation report, said that I was a piece of shit. I couldn't do anything. I was garbage. I put myself before others, had no testicle fortitude. I mean, it just said all this stuff. But literally 4 months before that, I had an NCOR that said I could walk on water, promote before his peers. I was like the greatest thing in the world. So again, we're talking about toxic leadership here on Military Broadcast Radio and Veterans Talk. And the only thing I really honestly needed was somebody just to have understanding and take me away. And then I had a first sergeant. He wasn't my first sergeant. Well, he kind of was my first sergeant because I fell underneath him. But his name was First Sergeant James Hendricks, and he was white, not black. Jimmy Hendricks, First Sergeant Hendricks. And we were getting mortared really bad. It was like 2 a.m, and he grabbed me, lifted me with all my battle rattle off the freaking ground. That's how studly he was. Army Ranger, just great guy. Lifts me up, slams me against the Hesco basket. He goes, look at me, Sergeant, look at me. We're going to make it out of here. And he hugged me. And he said, we're going to make it out of here. And he cried with me. And it was then that I knew that I was normal, that what I was going through was absolutely normal. One of the best freaking leaders I ever had. And if I ever find him, I swear to goodness, he was one of the best leaders I ever had. Every other leader after that made fun of me. They literally tried to put me in prison, in jail. They had like their own little jail there in Iraq. They wanted to put me in there. And they said, no, if we do that, then we can't Article 15 them. They literally busted me down to a private E1, kicked me out of the Army for misconduct because I didn't have another NCO walk with me to the latrine. I had no weapon. They took my weapon from me. Why are you in combat without a weapon? I was recommended not by 1, not by 2, by 3 doctors to be medevac for severe PTSD and exhaustion back to the rear. And my commander said, no, Rangers don't cry. We don't falter. You need to pull up your boots and Ranger up. That's what he said to me. He later on went on to become a 2-star general, by the way, and then was forced retired because he made a stupid comment. But anyway, I was devastated because all I had ever known was the Army, and I rose through the ranks very fast, and I took pride in being a leader. I mean, I literally had soldiers who wanted to work for me because I led from the front. When it was time to go home, I cleaned the latrine. I showed them, hey, I can clean the latrine. Just because I'm an NCO doesn't mean I can't clean the latrine. You guys go do what I ask you to do, and I'll clean the latrine. I'll do the hard work. I don't care. I want to get out of here just like you do. But more importantly, I knew every one of my soldiers' personal issues, whether they had money problems, drinking problems, wife problems, husband problems, whatever. I knew it all. And it wasn't that I was nosy. It was just I wanted to be able to help them when they came to me, when they had a bad day. So kicked out of the Army, forced out of the Army. I was told that if I don't fight this, that if I don't fight any of the Article 15s that they were giving me for misconduct and the chapter for misconduct, patterns of misconduct, that they would get me out of there and I could go seek VA treatment or medical treatment once I got out of Iraq. I spent 4 months at Walter Reed Hospital. Walter Reed Hospital recommended that I be immediately discharged for the good of the Army as a medical discharge, right? My sergeant major, my colonel said, absolutely not. Get him on a plane, escort him back here to Iraq. I got back to Iraq. That's when he sat there and he said, you see how powerful I am? I'm more powerful as a command sergeant major than your fucking senator. That's what he said to me. I stood in Iraq for about 6 more months after that, 5 or 6 more months with no weapon. I had to have an escort everywhere I went to include a chow hall, which we didn't really have a chow hall. I wasn't allowed to use any phone, any computers. I had to report at night, daytime. I had 40 days extra duty, which I was filling sandbags the whole time. Even when we were getting mortared, I was made to fill sandbags. They gave me my last Article 15 they gave me was for disobeying a lawful order of a senior non-commissioned officer because I didn't have an NCO from my company escort me to the latrine. I had another NCO, which was Joel's. It was H-Train's actual NCO that was with him, Sergeant Newman, who was a great NCO. And I say, Sergeant Newman, I got to go to Porta John. Will you escort me? I'm supposed to have an escort. He's like, yeah, no problem. When I was coming back from the Porta John, the first sergeant saw me. He goes, what are you doing? I said, I just went to the Porta John. He goes, where's your escort? I go, Sergeant Newman, right here. He goes, he's not in your company. Well, since when is an NCO not an NCO in the military, right? So yeah, so that was my last Article 15. I got chaptered out of the military, other than honorable discharge. So you have a honorable, general, under honorable, other than honorable, and then you have bad conduct. So I had an other than honorable discharge out of the military. I fought 14 years. All I wanted was it to get corrected. That's it, Red. I just wanted my DD-214 form to say general, under honorable. That's all I cared about.
Right.
I got it changed. Review board unanimously changed it. They said, absolutely not. With all your years and 14 years of active service, impeccable record, fast tracked, everything like that, something's not right here. You literally 3 months later, I think it was, or 3 months earlier, you have an NCOR says you can walk on water, and now all of a sudden you're a piece of crap. Something's not right here. They said, we're going to recommend this to the Surgeon General of the United States Army. So they did. The board recommended my paperwork go to the Surgeon General of the United States Army. And 14 years later, I was granted a full reprieve. I got my rank back. They gave me my rank back. I was back paid $268,000 in retirement. I was medically retired from the United States Army. I was brought back on active duty, medically retired from the United States Army, and all pay and allowances brought back to me and stuff like that, and was medically retired. That was something that I fought 14 years for. And that's a toxic leadership. Instead of a leadership looking out for somebody, they wanted to put a feather in their hat and just get you out of the way.
Right.
And now I find out that every one of those assholes, and I'll say it, I don't care. Yeah, this is me talking. This is my PTSD if you want to talk. Every one of those assholes filed for PTSD, and every one of them get 100% PTSD through the VA. How freaking ironic is that? They want to sit there and laugh at me, judge me, be toxic leaders, not take care of their troops, right? So how does that relate back to now? I'll tell you, I don't trust people. My trust is just gone out of the window. So when somebody says, I'll take care of you, I'm like, yeah, right. The only one to take care of you is you. And that's where toxic leaderships really, really put a hurting on somebody.
Right.
For
a long time. Yeah.
Yeah, for absolutely. So yeah, I've never really shared that story with anybody. But yeah, my ID card says on there that I'm a retired NCO, retired, not anything else but retired, as it should. And the whole thing was, like I said, is that I fought for that for 14 years, thinking that I was a piece of crap.
Right.
I mean, and then I've got, Specialist Varian who committed suicide, a Specialist Staff Sergeant Post who committed. So these are all my soldiers who were under my command, who committed suicide. And again, because of toxic leadership that didn't look out for them, didn't take care of them. Right. So we're here on Military Broadcast Radio, Veterans Talk. We're talking about toxic leadership, both in the military and civilian world, and how it translate into permanent scars, permanent problems. If you got a question or a comment, you can give us a call at 720-619-0627. That's 720-619-0627. I got my boy Red in the studio with me. H Train's in the back studio somewhere taking a quick break. But, you know, one of the things I think, Red, is that how do we heal ourselves from that toxic leadership? I mean, how do you move on from that?
Wow. Yeah, hey, that's a great story, you know, and I want to thank you for sharing it. That's tough. I say great story. It's a tragic story in all actuality, but I appreciate you sharing it. I know there's many others that have surely fallen into that same type of leadership that they got, probably. Even myself, I had some anxiety type mental health issues and stuff like that in my career. And while people were generally really good with me, you know what I mean? And they didn't let me go. They didn't. I think several. I remember one officer. I remember one officer actually saying, "Mike, that I don't believe you."
Yeah, that's crazy.
My head, the back of my head, was swollen up just so freaking hard. And it just, you know, just that in itself. And I was like, dude, you don't want to be in my shoes. You don't want to be in my shoes. And today, I still, you know, even still today, that was 20 years ago, 22. That was 22 years ago. And it still kind of affects me. I still go through, you know, every day. I'm still seeing doctors, right? You know, it's something that I've got, you know, and I'm being treated. And I've had a lot of the Air Force saw me through my last, you know, 18 months or 2 years. And that was a great thing. Even worked civil service after that. But I've never been the same as I was before all that crap started. You know what I mean? And it's sad, you know, but I let it grow on me. You know, when you talk about keeping secrets from the hospital, worried about getting let go, getting fired, or being looked down on.
Absolutely.
I held on to that, all this stuff for 3, 4, 5, 6 years. And then, you know, then I really, and I came to realize, hey, this is really what I'm experiencing, you know, and I seeked help for it. Yeah, that's a good thing and a bad thing for me to be still living today. It's a great thing. It was awesome. It was a good move, even though I lost some of what I had. But
you know, H Train said it the best when he said, "What sense of such thing?" It's almost like bullying. It's almost like they're using their power or they get up. That's one thing I never did. When I became, you know, I got promoted to corporal, and I remember when they promoted me to corporal, I said, "You're wasting your time."
Right.
Because I'm going to be a sergeant at the end of the month. And I did. I made the list and I was a sergeant at the end of the month. And they had to promote me to sergeant at the end of the month.
Right.
So I never looked at that rank as defining who I was as a person. I was a grown man. I was in my 30s.
Right.
I was, you know, I was a leadership and I led from the front. But let me tell you something. I led from the front and I made sure my people were taken care of as much as possible.
Right.
But when I went to my command and I said, hey, this guy right here, you know, is not doing what I'm asking him to do and I need some help, they're like, well, what do you want us to do? Well, I want you to support me because I want to Article 15 him and I want to get him non-judicial punishment. They're like, yeah, you don't need to do that. Okay, but as soon as I do it, you want to hammer me to the cross, right? So it's kind of a double-edged sword, but yeah, it's hard for me to talk about it because, you know, I spent, you know, quite a few months at Walter Reed Hospital. My doctor, everybody knows, was the infamous Dr. Nadal Hassan, who's on death row right now.
Yeah, I remember. Yes.
Yeah. So, you know, who was my intending physician there. And it is difficult. It's very difficult for me to talk about because those people, believe it or not, up until so H Train knows this. My Facebook got hacked and I had nothing but military friends on there. I didn't even have family on there. I had military friends on there.
Right.
And my Facebook got hacked and I can't get the password or anything like that. It's still out there. You can still access it and see it, but I just can't. I have no way to get into it. And
right.
You know, I got bullied on there from some of these guys. One guy wrote me
I
back.
don't doubt it. I mean, I don't doubt.
Well, I mean, one guy was an NCO. He wrote me back. And he goes, he wasn't even my NCO. He was an NCO in another company, and I never liked him. And he was a smart ass. He was an alcoholic. Thought his shit didn't stink. And Anderson, if you're out there listening to me, you're a piece of shit. Anyway, I told him straight up on Facebook. I said, listen, man, let's do this. We're both out of the military. Let's go have a beer. We'll talk about what you don't like about me. I'll talk about what I don't like about you. And afterwards, if you want to freaking slug it out, we'll slug it out. We'll have another beer. But let's just go about our ways. Oh, I know more than you think. You think I do. And blah, blah, blah. I don't give a rat's ass what you know about me or you think you know about me. Listen, I'm going to quote something in the Bible. It says, fear not what man can do to you. Fear what God can do to you. I don't care what no man thinks about me. I just care about what the good Lord thinks about me.
Right.
That's it. And he challenged me. There was another guy challenged me on Facebook. Oh, you're gonna love this one. There's another guy challenged me on Facebook, was talking mad crap. So I went on the global website, found out where he worked, called his boss, and I said, I'm pretty sure you guys hold top secret clearance like I do. He's like, yeah. I go, yeah. So you can see the phone number I'm calling from, right? Yeah. You do see that I'm calling from DC, right? Yeah. So I'm going to ask that you have this person cease and desist immediately talking trash on Facebook, or I will go ahead and send that to the security agency that does and handles our top secret clearances. And I'm pretty sure he won't have one anymore. He freaking jumped off of Facebook, blocked me from Facebook. I've never heard nothing from him again. But this is the kind of crap that you get. This is going beyond, and it's a type of bullying that people don't understand, both in the public and in the military sector. They get a certain rank or they get a certain height in their management position as leaders or management, and they become bullies. They forget, where they came from. And I will quote a sergeant major said this to me one time. He said, never forget that we are now they. They don't know what we go through. They don't understand. Well, you will become they, and you can make that change as they never had. Right. So, and that's something that always stuck with me. And I'll tell you this, if you are a leader in the military, if you are an officer or non-commissioned officer, and you are servicing troops, even if you're a corporal and you're leading troops, don't ever forget that they're still human beings. And General Mund was our 1-star ADCM for the 1st Infantry Division. And I remember asking him, I saw him when I got out of the military. I saw him in Texas, and I said, hey, how you doing, General Mund? I was in civilian clothes. And I said, hey, General Mund, how you doing? He goes, Michael, how are you? This guy remembered my first name. He's a 2-star general now. He remembered my first name. And I said, sir, can I ask you a question? He said, yeah, sure. I said, how come you always treated me with so much respect? He said, buddy, I put my pants on the same way you do. Sometimes 2 feet at a time, 1 time at a time. He goes, but we all put them on the same way, not backwards, not sideways. He goes, hell, looking at you, you probably wear a smaller waist than I do. He said, but you're still a man, and I still respect you as a man. I gave him a big hug, and he went on his way. That was the last time I saw him. But that's a good leader right there.
Right. Yeah.
You don't forget where you came from. You don't forget. And I know this is something that's pretty hard for H-Train as well, to talk about stuff, because I mean, he did totally wrong. He was. And unfortunately it was from the same unit, and I got it. Leaders don't always get it right. They don't always get it wrong, but toxic leadership, man, there's an organization out there called Wounded Healers. And I sat on a panel with them. I'm on their board. I sat out there on a panel, and Patrick Sims, he's been on this show before. And Patrick and I were sitting on this board. Patrick was on the left side. I was on the right side. Patrick's the president of Wounded Healers. He's an Air Force veteran, retired. And in between us were a lot of women, a lot of female veterans, most of them Air Force.
Right.
And every single one of them had the exact same problem: severe post-traumatic stress disorder due to toxic leadership. Is that crazy? Due to toxic leadership. These are people that were suffering and went to their boss for help, and their boss shunned them, ridiculed them, made fun of them, and belittled them. Right?
Right.
That's just that, right? That in itself should be a crime, right? And I don't care if you're an Army Ranger, Special Forces, a Navy SEAL, it doesn't matter. We all have emotion. We all are human beings. And every now and then, some of us just need a freaking handshake, a hug, or a pat on the back and say, hey, man, it's going to be okay.
No doubt. Right.
You know? I know I kind of went on a rant there. Sorry about that.
No, hey, but it's just, you're exactly right. And I remember, you know, that kind of stuff, it can kill.
Absolutely.
It can kill. It can destroy. And I'm not talking about well, I mean, I am talking about, you know, a result in the end of life, but it can affect somebody for life, which is the same thing as destroying them. If you know, they don't ever get help or don't get over it, it can destroy them for life. And man, that's not the way we're supposed to be. I don't care if we're rough, tough, military, whatever. It doesn't matter. You know, we're human. Just like you had said before, I'd mentioned this. One other thing, I'd mentioned this to H before, and I had a few guys that I was working with. We had another guy that was experiencing some trauma, some mental health type issues, and you know, wasn't able to be at work, having to go to the doctor, and you know, kind of being grounded, if you will, was air traffic control, and you know, and we're short. I mean, we're short of body, right? We're short. Right. These guys stood up in front of me. Maybe one or two of them might have ended up going to be an officer. Maybe another one or two of them ended up being a very high ranking person. But they're like, why don't he just put? They were sitting there saying, why don't he just go through with it and get it over with so we can get a new body? And that just tore me up. Just tore me up. It was the worst thing that those guys could have ever said. And it affected me. That has affected me. Now, afterwards, I've seen where they come from. I understand it was just them. They don't, you know, they might be pretty sharp, pretty smart, but in the whole scheme of things, they just don't get it. They didn't get it. Hopefully they've changed by now.
Hey, you guys, I hate to cut you guys off, but we got to go on break because we got another segment and then it's tribute to the troops. So if you're just tuning in now,
hey, then don't cut us off. Hey, listen, you're listening to Veterans Talk on Military Broadcast Radio. We're going to be right back and let Red finish right after this quick commercial. We got to take a quick break. Got
Military Broadcast Radio, the station that's giving veterans a voice.
Find us on the web at mbradio.net.
Opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Hello, everybody. We're back. Welcome, Quack. Hey, I'm Red Skelton. I just was filling in for Magic Mike, the host on the show.
Like you're still filling in for Magic Mike.
I guess I am. Where is that Joker at? So he magically appears, and he magically just.
Oh, there.
I'm coming up.
Oh, he got a cup of coffee.
I had to get a refill on my coffee. Sorry about that.
Welcome, Quack, Mike.
Listen, I had to get
just
my
go ahead and push. Just go ahead and push.
All right.
Quack.
So hey, listen. Here's something that him and his Sonic cup. Man. You know what? Listen, he cannot live without that Sonic cup. You better have that on the cruise when we go on the cruise.
I don't know. I do not know why they don't compensate me appropriately, because I definitely advertise for them. They just don't get it.
Absolutely.
Well, hold on. Have you asked them? Have you went to your Sonic place and say, "Hey, check this out. I drink the Sonic every time.
I need to
How about you
send it
guys
to
sponsor me? You guys can give me a drink every time I do a show, and that small increments of support don't go unnoticed.
Just a little bit,
So
I might mention them. I might mention them during the broadcast.
There you go. I think you might
Hey,
be on.
I visit Sonic quite a bit, no doubt about it. That's not the exact same cup I started with, mind you.
Okay. Hey, if you're joining us joining us here on Military Broadcast Radio Veterans Talk, we're talking about toxic leadership and what is toxic leadership. Before the break, Rib was talking about something, that was on point. And here's a couple things. Common traits for toxic leadership are micromanaging. Everybody hates a micromanager. Believe it or not, that is a trait for being a toxic leader, is micromanaging. Lack of empathy. I love that about the military. When I had some leaders, especially when I was a younger, E4, E5, is when they would say, "Hey, go do this," and they expect it to be done. Period. End of story. That's it. Just go do it.
Right.
Just do your job. I trust you. Go do it. If you don't get it done, lack of empathy. That's a huge one. We're not talking about sympathy. We're talking about empathy, understanding, right? Excessive punishment. Is that not crazy? Excessive punishment. Favoritism or discrimination. Self-centered decision making. That's huge.
Yeah.
Disregard for mental and physical well-being of their troops. Boy, if that's not on point of what I just talked about, right? This behavior can be especially damaging due to the hierarchical structure in high-stress environments. Why is it a problem? It degrades morale, right? Mm-hmm. Toxic leaders can demoralize soldiers, making them feel undervalued or abused, right? That's a huge one. And just after my story that I talked about before the break and stuff, and that what Reb was going over, I mean, I didn't have this. I just pulled this up. Effects and retention, right? Good service members may leave because they're unwilling to endure that kind of an environment. Impact mission success. Poor leadership compromises trust, communication, cohesion. I'll say that again. Poor leadership compromises trust, communication, and cohesion. Huge. Mental health impact. It increases the risk for burnout, depression, and even suicide. So some of the examples of toxic leadership: command who punishes soldiers for seeking mental health treatment. I'm sorry, say that one more time, Magic Mike. Oh, okay. Sure. That's a commander who punishes soldiers for seeking mental health treatment. Did I or did I not just talk about that before the break? About my whole situation? I went and saw a mental health provider for PTSD, severe PTSD, while I was in Iraq, diagnosed with severe PTSD, and was punished severely for that. Senior non-commissioned officer.
What the military's form is you get punished because they call it malingering. And it's not necessarily malingering,
Listen, I still wanted to be in Iraq. I still wanted to fight. I just wanted somebody to talk to him. When I went to the chaplain says, "We'll talk later."
Because I can't get over that, man. That was just
I have the Article 15 still right here. If anybody doubts me, I will send you a copy of it. It says right there, it says, disrespected a senior field grade officer by cursing at him as a chaplain. I didn't curse at him. I didn't curse. I cursed in front of him. I didn't curse at him. I didn't say, fuck yourself. I hope your mother dies. I didn't say anything like that. I said, later might be too fucking late. You know, excuse my language, everybody, but that's what I said. Right. So, and went and saw mental health from a professional, a doctor who not one, not two, but three, and my first sergeant recommended me be medevac back to a hospital to be evaluated for severe PTSD. And what did they say? No, absolutely not. Right. You're not a commissioned officer who humiliates subordinates in front of their peers. I kind of borderline on that one, because what does that really mean? I mean, making them do push-ups in front of their peers. I mean, I'm at the philosophy, and I hear a story that happened to me and Red. I want your professional, honest. I want your honest opinion. I've always been a person that said, punish in private, praise in public. So just the other day, my wife and I were at Costco, right? And while we were there were 4 or 5 people. They all looked like management position, maybe department managers or something like that. And they were probably middle-aged, right? All very nicely dressed. They didn't have smocks on like you normally say. They just nicely dressed with a name tag. And there was this little bitty fellow there, had gray hair, and he was barking at him. This needs to be folded like this, and this needs to be folded like this. Look at it, in front of everybody, in front of us. And we're just and I when he walked away, I asked the guy, I said, your name's Paul? He goes, yes. And I said, is that the boss? He goes, yeah, he's our district manager. I go, well, he's a piece of shit. Open his eyes.
I think everybody's a piece of shit. We just don't realize it yet.
I said he's a piece of shit. I said, punish in private, praise in public. So that's just huge. An officer who prioritizes personal promotion over troop welfare. That's exactly what it is. Because here's the thing: lieutenant colonels, battalion commanders, brigade commanders, right? If they have a soldier who has PTSD or mental health issues or something like that, it falls on them because they're not taking care of them, right? So Duke 6, it was his name. So General Petard, retired, he was a colonel then, said that he didn't have enough troops because everybody was leaving the army, right? And we were at stop loss during that time. Remember that stop loss that went on? So he said he couldn't jeopardize losing a non-commissioned officer. He could not go. So that was all about him. It wasn't about me. How do you curb it now, right? So everybody knows me that I always talk to my troops and I always talk to my soldiers. And I said, listen, we can all sit around and complain all day, but I want you to really come to the table with a solution. So this is really cool. How do you curb it? 360-degree evaluations, feedback from peers and subordinates. That's a huge one. Leadership development program, emphasis on emotional intelligence and servant leadership. That's huge. Servant leadership. Be a servant. Be a good servant to your subordinates. Be a good servant to them, right? Listen, I'm not talking about rub their feet, make them feel all happy and stuff. We're in the military, right? Rest in peace, First Sergeant Christopher Rafferty. He was an E6 at the time. He was a platoon sergeant, but he was an E6. I remember walking up to him. And I said, Sergeant, can I have a moment with you? It was after a big brigade, Monday morning brigade formation. Everybody got promoted and I didn't get promoted. And I said, can we talk for a second? He said, what's up? And everybody was scared of him. I was kind of not scared of him, but I respected him and he knew that. And I said,
you was intimidated by him.
Yeah, I mean, he was a badass. There's no doubt about it. First Sergeant Rafferty was a badass, right? So I sat there and I said, First Sergeant, I said, he had just came off the drill sergeant trail. And I said, Sergeant, I said, I bust my ass. I'm an E2. I bust my ass in the motor pool. I work hard. I don't complain. I'm always going above and beyond. You know it. You're headed home in your car and you see me still in the motor pool working on the track vehicles or doing something. I says, and I didn't get promoted, but they promote this guy over here who sleeps all day and it does nothing. He's always on sick call. And he said, Nussbaum, go back to work. And I said, yes, Sergeant. I was ticked off. I turned around. He goes, hey, this conversation you're going to laugh at in another month. And I just like, whatever, asshole, right? That's what I thought. The next month, I didn't get promoted to E3. I was standing in formation. I remember they said the following people step forward. promoted from E2 to E3, and I was not one of them. And then they said the following people stepped forward, promoted to E4, and they called my name out. He actually put in a waiver for my time and grade, skipped E3, I never saw it, and promoted me directly to E4. That's a leadership there. That's a leadership. That's knowing the potential of the soldier, knowing the potential of your subordinates, and saying, no, this is what's going to happen. I'm going to be a servant. I know he busts his tail feathers. So guess what? Give him one more month. He'll fall into the time and grade. I can then promote him over that E3 into the E4 slot. And guess what? He's going to be a great leader. And that's what he did. So that's what servant leadership's about. Whistleblower protections, encourage report abuse without fear of retaliation. That's kind of huge. Command climate surveys used to assess the unit health and morale. We've tried that in the military, man. Left and right. That shit don't work. They've given you forms. What do you think about your leadership? I filled one out one time, and you know what the commander did? He came right to me. He goes, I know you filled this out.
I know this was you.
I kid you not. Captain Smith came to me. I was an NCO at the time. Captain Smith came to me, and he goes, I know you filled this out. I was like, I didn't fill it out. He goes, I know you filled it out. I go, I think Griffith filled that out. He goes, I know Griffith's not smart enough to write the stuff that was written in here. You're the smart guy. That's what he said to me. So he knew that I wrote about him and what a piece of crap of a leader he was, right? So that doesn't work. Challenges, cultures of silence, fear of retaliations, of being labeled weak, often prevents reports. That's plain and simple. Sometimes promotions promote those who are results oriented at the expense of other people. I mean, it's I don't know. I just think that toxic leadership all in and around, and I worked in HR as well for the federal government, and I saw the toxic leadership where it was my way or the highway, and it doesn't always work that way, right? You got to be open and stuff. Red said it the best, man. It lasts a lifetime. When you have a really bad and toxic leader, it lasts a lifetime, and it stays with you for life.
Hey, Mike.
Yes, sir.
It does. I believe that lasts a lifetime. It can affect somebody for life. And guess what? That non-toxic one, that one you talk about, that phenomenal leader, that can also go and last a lifetime.
Absolutely. And it's again like you said, that one good person lasts forever. It's like the old saying. It's like the squeaky wheel gets the oil or gets the grease or whatever you call it, right? Mm-hmm. But that one person that's quiet, man, I don't know. It just seems like it gets a little crazy. Again, if you're joining us for the first time here on Military Broadcast Radio, we're talking about toxic leadership, both in the civilian and in the military realm, and how detrimental it is to not only the morale, but the health, welfare of the actual individuals, of the actual soldiers, airmen, Marines, right? Listen, we know the Marines are the Marines, right? Hoorah, kill. We know the Army is the Army, right? Ranger up, we got it. Navy SEALs, the Navy, the Air Force, we got it. We go to basic training, and we go to basic training for one thing and one thing only, for initiation. That's an initiation into the service in which we're going. That's what it is. It is an initiation. If you can pass that initiation, you are one of the best that can put on that uniform, whether it's the Navy, whether it's the Air Force, the Army, the Marines, or the Coast Guard, or the Space Force right now, right?
Did you want to skip tribute, or did you want to run tribute? Because if we do the tribute, we got to run it now. It's up to you.
I like to keep on talking for a little bit. Is that cool?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So if you put that uniform on, you went through some kind of initiation process. Usually we call it basic training, right? Red went through basic training. Joel went through basic training. Everybody goes through a basic training. That is your initiation into your military service, right? We got it. We're doing push-ups and sit-ups. We got the drill sergeants laughing at us and stuff. But let me tell you something. Being a drill sergeant is not easy either. That's an initiation that they have to go through to become a drill sergeant as well. That's your initiation process. When you finish that initiation process and you put on that uniform, you are no longer in that realm and should not be treated never again like that initiation process, because that's just an initiation. I think that leadership needs to be more empathetic, needs to be more understanding, and more servant-like, if you will. Right? You can still be a leader and be a servant. Please, everybody that goes to church knows that the pastor is the leader, but he's a servant, right? He serves the people of the church, right? And I used to joke with people and I said, you joined the largest communist organization in the free world. It's called the military. We tell you when to eat, when to sleep, when you're going to get paid, and when you can leave. That's communism at its best, right? But here's reality. Reality is that toxic leadership will kill the very soul of the individual that they're supposed to be leading. What do you think? What do you think of that?
It'll kill the heart. It'll kill the heart. It'll kill the heart of your. If somebody's doing it wrong, look, and I never was any kind of high-ranking military, right? Obviously, and but I tell you what, this young fella, I'm not a young fella anymore. You know what I mean? So, but look, it can tear the heart. It can tear the heart out of the whole unit. It can tear. I don't want to get into politics and stuff like that, but it can tear the heart out of the unit. It can tear the heart out of the group. A toxic father can tear the heart out of a family and forever affect the spouse in that toxic relationship. The kids, who knows what ends up with them. Maybe somebody is fortunate enough to get out of that box, get out of that bubble that we were talking about earlier. Whether it's a good bubble or a bad bubble, that would be a pretty bad bubble. But it can it affects everybody, and it boils down to that leader, to that micromanager, to the toxic individual that doesn't completely get it. And sometimes I'll just say it, even from when I was a young guy in my 20s. Sometimes I really did wonder, like, how did that person get into this position?
Listen, I went to work. I
was like, is that for real?
Yeah, no, I mean, it is about that. Listen, again, if you're joining us and you have a question or anything like that, we're having a special edition of Veterans Talk right now on Military Broadcast Radio. And we're talking about toxic leadership. And I know it's near and dear to a lot of your hearts. I'm getting a lot of questions on my TikTok, a lot of questions on Instagram. Toxic leadership, both in the military as well in the civilian world, is what can crush the very morale of an individual, right? Giving more praise than more punishment, if you will go a long way, right? It doesn't mean you've got to candy coat everything and go, oh, I hope you feel good today. It's not about that. We are warriors. We are warriors. I don't care if you're male or female. You are a warrior. You put on a uniform that's at 1%. 1%. Seriously, 1% that puts that uniform on, and you go out there, you should no longer be treated like you were in basic training. And I think that's the biggest problem. I think the biggest problem is they forget that you are no longer in basic training. Listen, if you want to be a drill sergeant, go drill sergeant school, become a drill sergeant, go do that. That's great. Well, that's the initiation process. But when you put on those stripes, or when you put on that captain bar or the lieutenant, right? I had a lieutenant that wanted me to salute him all the time in Iraq. I was like, no problem. Sniper check. No problem. But they ain't going to shoot me first. They're going to shoot you, whoever I'm saluting. Right? I mean, we learned that from Vietnam. There's so much we learned from Vietnam. But he was so thick-headed and so wanted that salute. Did he earn that salute? Yeah, absolutely. He earned that salute, but not in combat. Right? Not in combat. He didn't need that salute in combat. Right? Toxic leadership, and I hope that H-Train one day will share his story. But the toxic leadership that we endured in that unit was so horrific that when Dubberly got injured and was in intensive care unit at Walter Reed Hospital, I walked into his intensive care unit and I saw him with all the tubes hooked up to him after he was hit by an IED. His kids lived across the hall he lived across the hall from me in Germany when we were stationed there. And I remember calling my then wife and telling her, go across the hall. Dubberly was hit by an IED. So that's how they found out. She found out about it. I know that was my bad, but I had radio watch that day, and it was easy for me to get on the phone and call my wife. And I remember I was at Walter Reed Hospital. I walked in the intensive care unit and seen him in that bed with all these tubes on him in his throat and everything like that. I mean, he was in bad shape. And I remember his wife hugging me and saying, Michael, don't take this personal, but I want nothing to do with your unit and with the 82nd. I want nothing to do with them. For me, they are dead. The way they handled this and the way they've treated me, it was horrific. And it was kind of an eye-opening. You know, if it's just you having an issue with your command or with a leader, then that's one thing. But when you have multiple people having issues with your leader, then that's the leader. And that's where we're at with toxic leadership. I mean, toxic leadership is and can be a scar that will last forever on a veteran. Am I right, H-Train?
Yeah, well, and I was just going to mention, we got like 3 minutes left. I was just going to mention, sometimes we also have to remember that it's not all like the toxic leadership, because like in the military, we forget that small underlying lining. That means when you're married and you're deployed, if he gets killed or he gets hurt, you have like 180 days to get your shit out of the garrison.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean,
I know my wife did. When I was getting medevaced out and I was getting out, she had 100. Yeah, she had. Well, I want to say she had less than that, but yeah, she had to clear housing. Yeah, I had to sign all these documents and everything that I couldn't sign. I had to give her power of attorney. She had to clear housing. She had to get out. It was like kick out. You're out. Get out of here.
Yeah, you know, and it's almost like that. Remember that story that they had a couple months back, where his wife died and they can't sue Disney because they have Disney Plus. It was like the small details in it. That's how the military is, you know? So we can get upset with the leadership, but sometimes the leadership, all they're doing is enforcing the regulations. Yeah. You know, they're like, I'm sorry, this sucks, but you know, but no, I totally get what you're saying. But it's that time. I'm
gonna start calling him, instead of H-Train, I'm gonna call him Timekeeper. Timekeeper.
Yep.
That's his new nickname, Timekeeper. Hey, listen, I appreciate all of you guys joining us here on Veterans Talk and Military Broadcast Radio. This is something that, again, this is toxic leadership was our talk today. Again, if you have a question, you can always email me at magicmike@mbradio.us. That's magicmike@mbradio.us. Or you can catch Red, or you can catch H-Train. Drop us a line, man. Drop us a line. We'd love to hear from you. I get tons of emails all day. I'm lying. I haven't gotten an email since I started this email account. But yeah, I'd love to hear from you on this. Drop me an email, man. I'd love to hear from you. I want somebody to drop me an email and just say, hey, I listened to your show. If you do that, I'll send you something really cool in the mail.
Cool.
Yeah, I'll send you something really cool in the mail if you do that. And we got new swag coming out. We've got a new app. If you don't have it yet, download the new app. We got new swag coming out from Military Broadcast Radio. Anything else? What am I missing?
You guys can catch us right here, same time, same channel. We might just start at 3:00 next week instead of the 2. We're gonna do that next week. Other than that, like Mike always says, what's important to you is important to us, because if if it's on our mind and it's affecting us, then pretty sure it's doing the same thing to you. Gunslinger, I'm going to get yelled at for that. The Gunslinger Tavern is up next, so Mike, take us out.
Hey, listen again. Thank you for talking with us. Thank you for joining us on Veterans Talk. What's important to you is important to us. So let's talk. I got my special guest, always my man, Red, right here. If you're not watching his show, something's wrong with you, man. H-Train, thank you for all you do, brother, man. You, again, give veterans a voice on Military Broadcast Radio. If it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be here, man. So I definitely want to give this Academy Award to you. There it is.
Hey, all right.
Hey, and remember, everybody, we are all here for you, not for us. We're giving our veterans a voice.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Military Broadcast Radio. As we wrap up today's show, we want to remind you that the podcast of today's episode will be available right after we go off the air. So if you missed any part of the show or want to listen again, be sure to check it out. And remember, we're here to support and honor our veterans. Your stories and experiences matter, and we are committed to giving you a platform to share them. That's right. We're here to give our veterans a voice. So don't forget to catch the podcast and stay connected with us. Giving our veterans a voice.